Hey.
Chris, can't hear you. By the way, it is the golden one. Ricky Goldman, it is. I'll welcome them because we can't hear you, Chris. Can't hear you.
Yeah, I can't hear you either.
So it is the evil DOS of the Malachi, my tag team partner, Jeff Littman. How are you doing tonight, Jeff?
That's right. You thought Don Callis threw in a swerve, but we threw in a swerve. We edged out the executive consultant out of his own show. It's a hostile takeover.
I doubt that.
No, it didn't work.
I doubt that very much. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Wednesday night NXT AEW version of an unpopular review. Welcome, everybody. Please make sure you like, love, and share this to all of your wrestling timelines and groups. How happy you must be to have me on Wednesday nights. And Goldman and Malachi, y'all should have a lot to talk about. Y'all should have did your homework today. AEW NXT. I won't say both were fun-filled episodes, but there was a lot going on this Wednesday. And I actually, first of all, I want to ask, how are the two of y'all doing this evening?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. Wow, AEW by the short midget. Winter is coming, and I'm so glad that you watched AEW because, you know, when they were saying winter is coming, it reminded me of a lot of little horror movies, and you definitely are horror movie walking. Derek Mitchell, how you doing? And Elvis is now 61-year-old Sting. So you know what? We'll talk. We're going to talk a lot about Sting later. We are all loaded up to talk about Sting, and I can't wait what's going on, Willie, to talk about Sting. But Ricky, how are you this Friday, Wednesday night, Thursday morning in England? How are you this Thursday morning?
Thursday morning, I'm fine.
Definitely rest in peace. Rest in peace to Pat Patterson. Definitely want to give that a shout out. Pat Patterson is a pioneer for the business, and we'll talk more about that in the upcoming days and probably do a little bit of special tribute on the beginning of SmackDown show with Ron and Vic coming up this Friday. AEW was freaking awesome. Christopher Burton says AEW was the best show. I didn't even try to look at NXT. I did. And Charmaine says, hi, Chris. How are you doing, Charmaine? Zoli says, Sting by men, Sting, AEW. Willie Jones says, for both shows be leading to big shows, AEW was the better show. My bad, Ricky. Go ahead. Elvis is actually showing respect for once.
Yeah, Thursday morning here. I'm doing fine. Looking forward to getting into this. And I do want to say, rest in peace, Pat Patterson. I met the guy. Nice enough guy. Legend of the business. Done so much. And yeah, rest in peace.
Rest in peace. And that actually started off NXT with a special tribute to Pat Patterson. And since he started off NXT, what better way to start off tonight than to talk about the beginning of NXT? Wednesday night, Goldman, hopefully you did your homework. What do you bring to the table? What the NXT bring to the table in this go-home show before War Games?
Yes, you could. All right. They have the entire locker room, entire roster on the ramp, video package for Pat Patterson. And yes, we have lost a legend. So that is sad news. But we kick off with a big tag team match, I thought. Damian Priest and Leon Ruff taking on Legado del Fantasmas, Raul Mendoza, and the champion, Santos Escobar. I noticed how my name's last. How dare you? This was a good match. All four men looking good here. I think that Legado del Fantasma, they deserve more than they get. Certainly Raul and Joaquin Wild. Definitely they deserve a lot more than they're getting at the moment. But the push has worked, being with the champion has worked. And I said all four guys looked great. Damian Priest looking as good as he always does. Leon Ruff getting better, got better this week, and he picked up the win for the team. Looking good for Saturday. What did you guys think?
I think the biggest surprise of the night by far was my face on the credits on Unpopular Review. Man, I watched AEW. I that was my assignment. So I'm relying on you this week for NXT. I can't help pick up the slack. I saw very little of this match. I've got to watch NXT tomorrow. I'm not going to front for the Unpopular Review audience. I was studying, taking notes.
He was doing his homework, Ricky. And let me tell you something. Right now, what you're telling me, I'm not impressed. I'm not a fan of, say this every week, I'm not a fan of Damian Priest as a babyface. I think he's a much better heel. Leon Ruff, who we have an interview on Behind the Ropes Media, check that out on YouTube. Leon Ruff, nice enough guy. He's a pretty good enough talent, but he is not going to make it on any type of main roster unless he gains weight. I'm sorry. I can't take him can't take him with enough credit. He makes Johnny 205 Live look like he's freaking Brock Lesnar. That's a problem to me. So how can I take you seriously? The fact that these two actually beat the Cruiserweight champion who you have been pushing like Brock Lesnar himself for the past God knows how months, because I don't remember last time I seen this guy lose. You've been pushing them only to have them lose. Made no sense to me. Wasn't a fan of this segment. Wasn't a fan of this match. But it seems like you were, Ricky. Tell me about it.
Yeah, well, I was tough. I like Leon Ruff. I think can win the North American title. Why not? Last week I wasn't a fan of him, but this week he certainly changed my mind.
Well, listen, Ricky, what do you think about this? If you're going to have the team of Priest and Ruff win, which I understand why that makes sense going into War Games because they're opponents, why make it Santos Escobar in there? Why not make it Joaquin Wilde and the other guy of Legado? I mean, basically neither of those guys is really established as the guy. It's like having Seth Rollins lose instead of J&J Security.
Adam Cole's not the same size as Leon Ruff. That's ridiculous. Adam Cole is definitely a small guy. I will give you credit. He is definitely a small guy. And I've said repeatedly on air, off air, I don't respect his finishing maneuver because that knee is so small. But he is bigger than Leon Ruff. I still think Adam Cole needs to increase size, but he's more credible than Leon Ruff. I can't take Leon Ruff as seriously. But congratulations to him. He did get engaged to his long-term girlfriend, the referee from NXT, Aja Smith.
Nice call. Nice pull.
Leon Ruff. Adam Cole, yeah. I agree, Jeff. Yeah, they should really have had Joaquin
Phoenix
in this match. Joaquin Phoenix.
That would be great if they got Joaquin
Wilde, not Phoenix. Joaquin Phoenix is an actor, isn't he? Joaquin Wilde. And Raul Mendoza. That would have been a better way to go. I did wonder why he wasn't in this match, but
maybe
good opening match.
I mean, Santana was nowhere to be found tonight either.
Yeah, true.
Maybe they had COVID.
Yeah, that's possible too.
Every time somebody does not show up on TV that you expect them to show up, they have COVID.
Or they've just been exposed to someone who has.
Sure.
But yeah, good opening match. And this actually makes me excited now for Saturday. Makes me excited for War Games. But
War Games I'm looking forward to. Why am I looking forward to? You might think of a few things. I'll tell you why. Because I am actually going to be the first ever 4-time UPR champion as I take my championship back away from Steven, who won off a fluke, ladies and gentlemen, a fluke. Jake Atlas has potential. I want to talk about that coming up. Danny Savage, never saw him before. Welcome to UPR. Jamie Mercy is like 5-2. Derek Mitchell, good guy there. I think Leon Ruff is comic relief, but you can't take him seriously. That's what I'm saying. You cannot take him seriously. Danny Savage says AEW won't bury Sting like Pelican knows. Triple H, I'm assuming he's talking about. Daniel Miller says Leon Fiance is also a very good women's wrestler. Yes, she is. Joshua Hunt, and I know him as DJ Z. That was his name before. Charmaine Marie says, who you think is going to win War Games? We'll talk more about that during the pre-show, which you're going to have right before War Games on Sunday. Definitely want to tune in for that one. Leon Ruff is NXT's version of a Ring of Honor cheeseburger. Wow.
No, he's Happy Meal. He's Happy Meal burger.
Wow. Elvis Martinez says, Chris, did you get a chance to watch the Steelers game earlier? The Pittsburgh Steelers, who are still undefeated in the NFL. Thank you very much. Let's find out what the first thing that happened on AEW, which I think started off a lot more fire than NXT this week. What is all that noise, Ricky?
Nothing.
It's your papers, man. You have a sensitive microphone. All right? You have a sensitive microphone. I can hear the papers when we're about to listen to the evil Dose speak. What's going on, Ricky? At least you took notes. I'm proud of you for taking notes. Yeah. Evil Dose, what's up with AEW? We'll start it off.
All right, so AEW starts out with a battle royal. Now, there's been a little bit of confusion coming into this battle royal. Was it for the ring that MJF has? Is it a different ring? What's going on? So here's how they explained it. There's going to be a battle royal. The two finalists will face each other next week for the ring, which MJF currently has. So the ring is going to be sort of like the King of the Ring title, so it will be passed on. So anyway, there were obviously with all battle royals, a ton of things going on. And I don't know if I've said on this show before, because I'm very popular, I'm on a lot of shows, but I am a mark for a battle royal. I love all battle royals. I love bad battle royals. I don't care. So I always like a battle royal. So I like this. This was no different. So basically everyone got into the ring with the exception of Shawn Spears and Scorpio Sky, who stayed on opposite ring posts staring each other down. Now, people love long arc storytelling. I love long arc storytelling, but some stories just need to end. And this one has zero interest from anyone. So anyway, so they stood out there for a while. They made it like it was a big deal. Anyway, in the ring, obviously I can't cover everything that happened. So a few highlights. Miro looked really strong, beat up everybody until the Inner Circle members, which was represented by MJF, Wardlow, and Sammy, all beat him up and took him out. And they cleverly, for most of the match, stayed in a corner. MJF and Sammy standing together, Wardlow basically in front of them as a bodyguard, as a shield. Matt Hardy took out a member of Private Party on purpose, which is sort of reestablishing the heel Matt Hardy thing. There were a couple other moves he made which they critiqued or noted that they were a little bit more aggressive than usual. He did work with the other member of Private Party on I think they called it the silly string, but Miro caught it and threw him out and knocked Matt Hardy out also. There was when Sky and Shawn Spears got into the ring, basically Shawn Spears was immediately thrown out by Scorpio Sky, so it was a no big deal thing. Tully Blanchard came down. They were making noise like Tully was very disenchanted with Shawn Spears, but instead he gave Shawn Spears the loaded glove. Shawn Spears climbed up on the ring apron and knocked out Scorpio Sky. And I think it was Wardlow who then threw Scorpio Sky out, but it didn't matter. It was Shawn Spears who took him out. The Dark Order was actually working together pretty well, but they started losing some things. And then it seemed as if they were working with Adam Page. At some point, Adam Page was thrown out by the Dark Order guys. The ones in the match, it was John Silver, Alex Reynolds. That might have been it for the guys in the ring, but around the ring was 10, and Colt Cabana. I believe Alan Angels was there as well, Stu Grayson. And when Adam Page was thrown out, they caught him like a mosh pit, and they threw him back into the ring. So Adam Page looked pretty strong, but he was taken out nonetheless. I think it was by Miro. But there was some dissension teased between Sammy Guevara and MJF, but also there was plenty of time where Sammy Guevara was lying on MJF's lap like it was like he was a lap cat. So it was a little bit weird there. But towards the end, there was definitely more dissension between the members of the Inner Circle. The last two people standing, we thought, were MJF and Wardlow, which is actually what I was hoping for, because I thought it would be really interesting if Wardlow won and got the ring. But as it turned out, someone knocked out Orange Cassidy earlier, and he never came back into the ring. He was just sort of sacking out and lying down. And so they brought him back into the ring, and he became Superman, and Wardlow was knocked out. And so MJF and Orange Cassidy will meet next week for the ring. I don't know if I missed any other important high points or sub stories there. There was a lot going on, but I think I got the big stuff.
I don't know why we're talking about that, but let me go ahead and piggyback off what you're saying. I'll let you go in a second, Ricky. But this Battle Royal I thought was very entertaining. It was a much better entrance to the show than what NXT had, outside signs, of course, Pat Patterson's tribute. They start with some powerhouses in the ring. I think Tony Khan realized he might have open mouth inserted foot when he said that WWE shat on Miro for years, and now they're going to slowly build up Miro, when people have been saying, including yours truly, have been saying that Miro has done absolutely crap in AEW so far. And then all of a sudden, now he's looking like one of the most dominant people ever to live inside of AEW ring. It took like, 4 people to throw him out. The only problem I had with this segment, and I agree, was a good dissension tease before the Inner Circle. I really liked it. Now, what did not make sense to me, because some things doesn't make sense, right, Ricky? Like your hat. So we're done. But shout out to Charmaine, because Charmaine said that you have a nice hat, and these stain comments, like what is going on? Anyway, and to answer your question, Mr. Cruz, I do see it because I think it's best for business, and that's not even me trying to, no pun intended. I think that's what's best for business. It was good to see you, see, there it goes. Chris Harris. Chris is the Brian Saxton of UPR. Well, the good thing about Brian Saxton. The good thing about Brian Saxton is he's actually on Raw. The good thing about me is I'm actually on UPR. The bad thing about you is you're not on anything. Not a person, not a place, not a thing. So shut up. The problem I had with this is after Rusev or Miro, whatever you want to call, after the thing was over, he comes out, he immediately starts trying to attack Orange Cassidy, who's doing a lot of Roman Reigns Superman punches. It's not believable to me, but whatever. He comes out and tries to attack Orange Cassidy. Now, I understand there's a feud going on with Orange Cassidy, the best friends, and Miro. However, at the same time, you just got screwed by the Inner Circle. Literally screwed by the Inner Circle. They were still in the ring. Why wouldn't you attack them also? It didn't make much sense to me. I thought that was a missed opportunity there, but it is what it is. Like I said, Tony Khan was just trying to make Miro look like a dominant factor. This is a very long thing. So I'll read Mr. Hunt's comment. Ricky, go ahead, which is covering my face.
I thought good battle royal, and it wasn't a throwaway like WWE would do. There was actually stories in this.
I agree, Hunt. I agree.
So, but I was a bit confused by the end. How could two people win a battle royal? But this is also because it keeps MJF and Orange Cassidy looking strong.
Were you not paying attention to what Evil Dose said? This is not the first time this has happened. There's been plenty of battle royals where the final two have to have a match. The most famous one, of course, being Rick Martel versus Razor Ramon for the Intercontinental Championship, a vacant Intercontinental Championship back in 1993. What are you doing?
I don't remember that year. I started watching in.
What are you doing? You're not doing your homework. I am so upset. You're supposed to be the Wednesday night Goldman, right? Now you're acting like Bronx. You're acting Bronx.
I started watching wrestling in 2000, so 1993, nowhere.
Elvis, why do you care about social distancing so much? I mean, I know it's important, we're in the middle of a pandemic, but I mean, you've been social distancing your whole life because every time you walk near somebody, they stand 6 feet away from you at least. So I just don't understand why you always mentioning it. It doesn't make sense to me.
I just think you're a teddy bear in blue suede shoes. It's all good.
Teddy bears are too big. Teddy bears are too big. Ricky, I apologize for Elvis's rudeness. Keep going. Rest in peace, Scotty Jenkins. Rest in peace to Pat Patterson, creator of the Royal Rumble.
People stay away from 6 feet away from him the whole time.
They haven't missed anything yet. They have the whole future, my friend. They just started, but they just planted the seed.
True, but the tease between them could have been a lot better. It could have been a lot more fire. We're talking AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura, Rock and Stone Cold, also Memorial Hulk Hogan tease because Braun Strowman and Keith Lee had a big tease moment. So I would like to see some stuff happen in the future. But I think what Derek's trying to say is they should have capitalized on it now while it was hot instead of.
But that's not the story. And it's heel versus heel. And in every battle royal, AEW does the big man versus big man spot. Usually it's Billy Gunn is one of them. So let's be thankful it wasn't 58-year-old Billy Gunn.
Well,
58. Jesus. Old. These old people shouldn't be in wrestling. Anyway.
Billy Gunn is still in better shape than people who are 38 and 28.
Oh, for sure.
I hate to say it. He is in a lot better shape than a 50-year-old Chris Jericho. But anyway, go ahead.
That's because he takes steroids, but yes, I like every single steroid ever.
All the steroids.
All of them. But yeah, next week should be a good match, MJF and Orange Cassidy. I think Cassidy to win. What do you guys think?
I don't think so. One, because I don't want it to happen. Two, because they've got the Miro Kip Sabian thing that can interfere. Three, it would just be too obvious with and we'll get to it in a few minutes, but with the Inner Circle ultimatum, if he loses that, I guess it depends upon the order of sequences. If the Inner Circle breaks up, then it makes sense for them to interfere. If he wins it, it doesn't make sense for the Inner Circle to break up if he retains that ring, which, I guess is a pseudo title. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, if the Young Bucks are booking it, Orange Cassidy wins. If Tony is booking it, I think MJF holds on.
MJF needs to win this, and let me tell you why. Because they have to build this storyline with the Inner Circle. You know, the end game is he's going to take over the Inner Circle, right? Mm-hmm. So, in order for him to take over the Inner Circle, he can't do it next week. He has to build a trust. He has to make it look like he's the man. Him winning this ring is going to make him look like he's the man. Okay, they're already teasing it. Next week, the ultimatum's coming. They're going to start at the end of the show. They're going to be stronger than ever. They're just showing you because everybody knows what's to come. And I think Dose hit it right on the head. Miro and them going to interfere. You already know what's going to happen. It's just too many things going against Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy, I think, is a superstar. His charisma makes him better than Leon Ruff. And I'm not saying Leon Ruff does not have charisma. He does. But Orange Cassidy's charisma is on another level. I actually have turned into a big Orange Cassidy fan, and I would like to see big things for this man in the future. But next Wednesday, it's not his night.
It doesn't need to be. Orange Cassidy's gimmick is original. That will always keep him over. And that's the difference between him and Leon Ruff. Leon Ruff's character is just the nice baby face. At his size, he needs more than that.
He created Royal Rumble. Right. What's the next thing that happened on NXT, Ricky?
Very quickly, he was 24/7 champion for like 2 minutes. Anyway,
I said, what's the next thing? So you can just go right into it, and then just like everything else, you just had to start opening your mouth and inserting footage, just like Tony Khan. What's going on?
My boy,
I'm going to give you a minute. I'm going to give you a minute to reset because you're disappointing me here, bro. You're disappointing Chris. So we're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, Ricky's going to be in firm control because he's the man, and he needs to remember he's a Goldman, and you're not even bronze anymore. You're plastic.
I believe in you, Ricky. I believe in you.
It's good that somebody believes in Ricky because right now, my faith's gone. We'll be right back after this commercial break. Stay with us on Popular Review.
Daniel wants us to get back to wrestling. Omega versus Moxley will be better than. All right, we're going to get to this comment in a second because somebody ended up saying something really dumb on social media, which we'll get to after we're done with Raw, which was Moxley versus Omega is going to be the modern day Rock versus Stone Cold. We're going to get to this in about 5 minutes because it's the most complete nonsense anybody's ever said. Hold on, I'm being distracted by something. Hold on.
That's
What's that, Mia? What's that? Avenge you? You got
What's
it, baby.
that?
I got
Steven,
you.
here's a nice tall glass of shut.
Danny, Joey, Steve. Who was Steve? There was a Steve on the show. Was there a Steve?
Yeah.
Who knows?
It's Christmas Eve in LA. He's an easy guy to like.
Come out to the coast, we'll get together, have a few laughs.
And a hard man to kill. Bruce Willis. Die Hard.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back on Popular Review, AEW NXT edition. You are talking to myself, the executive consultant, along with Evil Dose 2, Malachi, as well as Wednesday Night Goldman. I say Evil Dose 2, but Evil Dose, Malachi, and Wednesday Night Goldman. Talking about NXT AEW. Starting off with Ricky here, the man. Goldman, what was the next angle on NXT?
My boy, Cam Grimes, straight to the moon. Taking on from 205 Live fame, if you watch 205 Live. August Gray has been getting a couple of wins. Small push on 205 Live. This was really a filler match and a match to build up. Not build up Cam Grimes, but give him momentum heading into Saturday. This was fairly quick, and Grimes taking the win. But what I like everything about Grimes, he's a star. He is.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. So,
you're getting a lot of support in the chat, my man. A lot of support.
Yes, Grimes is a star in my eyes. And the end of the match was good. He put on a strap onto August's wrist, Gray's wrist, was beating him up. August rolled out the ring and he said, "Oh, it's so easy, I can grab him in." And who was there? None other than Dexter Loomis. This builds a match for Saturday, and Grimes just runs off. But yeah, I hope Grimes wins on Saturday. He's the future.
Wait. How did they get it from where Grimes declined to do the strap match to him accepting the strap match, or did Regal order it?
That was last week.
No, he declined it last week. He walked away and said, "No, I'm not doing it." So obviously the match is for War Games. So at some point it was mandated upon him, or he agreed.
It was just announced. They just announced it was going to be this match at War Games.
Well, that's a giant block hole. That's stupid.
This is WWE.
Yeah, well, it's NXT. We expect better from them. Okay, listen. I asked, you answered. I'm not happy with the answer, but it's not you're the messenger. Well, I'm the messenger. I'm Malachi, but you know.
All right, let me tell you about this segment. This segment, I'm a big fan of Cameron Grimes. I actually do like him. I don't know how much of a future he has, but I'm a big fan of his work. I'm actually a fan of Dexter Lumis. This feud has been lackluster. I'm tired of seeing it. It's been going on too long. There's no point to it. Let these two move on to bigger and better things. It's filler that doesn't need to be filler. You mentioned a wrestler at the beginning. I forgot who did he wrestle? Who did?
Because Gray he's on 205 Live a lot.
Right. Yeah. Who? Exactly.
No.
If you say it again, I'm still going to say who. I don't know who he is, and I wasn't impressed. Talent because he can do moves I can't. I mean, I'll always give people respect for that, but no, I don't need to see him. He was a waste of time. This match is a waste of time. The segment is a waste of time. NXT, I don't know what you're doing. War Games is this Sunday, as Mike Riggs so politely put it earlier. And right now, you're not getting me excited for the pay-per-view or any of these feuds going forward. So definitely a thumbs down for NXT for that segment. What will happen with AEW? What AEW counter with it? Go ahead, Evil Dose.
Well, thank you, Elvis. I'm not ready for this kind of response.
Pause. I don't know why you said thank you, Elvis. Okay. Elvis does not like me, right? I understand. Why? He looks at me because he looks at me. He says, "Oh, that's what a man should look like." Okay, and I get it, right? But understand he does this with every host. He wants them to take my job because he's hoping somebody's going, no matter who he's giving head to faster, somebody's going to nut in his mouth fast enough for him to take my job. Look, it's not going to happen. Elvis, I need you to please go get a blow up doll. Go ahead and talk about AEW, and I'm going to stop highlighting Elvis's comments because it's ridiculous. It's taking him time. Give me a smarter person like Michael Licata.
Yeah,
of course he cheated. He's healed.
Don't look at me with suspicious eyes. I'm not looking to take your job there, EC. All right. The next segment in AEW, Kazarian came in. It was Kazarian versus Jericho. Everyone did the Jericho song. Jericho is flanked by Jake Hager and Ortiz. Santana not there, conspicuous by his absence. So we already touched on that earlier. Anyway, to be frank, this was the low match of the evening. This was plotting and sort of sad, and Kazarian got a lot of offense in, and Jericho looked sort of like, well, me. Now, I can't do a moonsault, and I can't do a lot of things that he can do, but he's starting to look more and more like me every day. Anyway, a little bit of teased interference, psychological warfare. Kazarian had Jericho in basically a sharpshooter for Boston Crab or something for a while. Jericho was moving ever towards the ropes, and Ortiz was teasing like he was going to use that sock filled with a heavy ball in it. I don't know what the name of that weapon is, but they've used it plenty. So if you watch the show, you know what they use. And Hager was basically, saying, no, don't do it. At some point, MJF ran out and teased like he was going to throw the towel in, which I'm like, no, not 3 times in 14 months. Wardlow, of course, was flanking him. He's about to throw in the towel, even though Jericho, it's not like he was really in dire straits. Sammy Guevara came out a little bit delayed, pulled the towel out of what's his name, MJF's hand. Basically they had an argument and a scuffle on the outside. He's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm trying to help him." And then basically Kazarian, through all the distractions or whatever, basically walked into a Judas effect. Jericho got the 3 count. And then the Inner Circle was sort of in turmoil. They were sort of feuding among themselves. In the midst of this, Christopher Daniels came out just to check on Kazarian, but they didn't really need to get involved. The Inner Circle was sort of imploding. And Jericho grabbed the mic and said, "Stop it, cut this shit. I'm sick of this bullshit." and a couple of S words right there in a short span, and basically said, he's so sick of it. It's been about 2 weeks since they joined forces. So I mean, I don't know. The burn seems a little bit quick to me. And I mean, I hate to say it, but I think it's all about ratings. But in any event, they're going to have ultimatum segment next week to decide whether or not the Inner Circle stays together or whether or not they break up forever. So that was the segment. Take it, boys.
All right, Ricky, what are your thoughts on this segment?
Kaz Kazarian, good match this was. He can still have a good match at his age. He's going to be getting on. He's going to be up there almost as old as Jericho.
42.
So he's getting on. I probably would have had Kaz win. I don't think Jericho needs these wins anymore, but it also made sense for the
Neither does Kazarian.
What?
Neither does Kazarian. Kazarian's not winning anything in the future.
But it made sense for the promo Jericho cut and makes sense for both for next week. Jericho's going to make his team look strong, so. But I think there's dissension between MJF and Sammy Guevara. Whether Guevara's going to go face or not, I have to wait and see. What did you think, Chris?
Kazarian is a talent that I've been following for years. I think he's a very good talent, but he is not it. And I think I posted this in a few of the wrestling groups I'm in. He's not it. But I understand his respect that people have for him in the ring, and I do agree with that. Jericho, however, and something else I said, he's one of the greatest ever to lace up a pair of boots. Definitely is. However, what I have said since I was a wee toddler is when you're old enough where you can actually see the deterioration in your wrestling skills, it might be time for you to retire, because one thing I do not like about a lot of wrestlers is they stick around to where they're not able to really do what they used to do. And it's sad to see in some cases. I think that one of the best retirements of all time was Shawn Michaels, because he still went out while he was still able to do pretty much everything he was doing before, where people still were clamoring and wanting more. And he doesn't look like a shell of his old self. Unfortunately, Ric Flair did. Ric Flair was still in great shape at the age of 56, I think is when he retired. Still in great shape and still can do a lot. And he did a lot, but he was a shell of his former self. Even The Undertaker was a shell of his former self. Even though his last few matches, I think 2 of them, his last real match was Extreme Rules in 2019 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, which he did a great job with that. That was a good final match to see, even though nobody was prepared for that to be his final match. Watch the documentary. Chris Jericho still can go in the ring. Don't get me wrong, but but he was definitely moving slower. He was definitely needed help to do some things he was doing. I don't know how many people noticed that, but I could tell Kazarian definitely helped him to do some of the moves that he usually does without any problem. And the conversation, the debate back and forth around the group was, oh, he's fat. He did that on purpose. He did not do that for purpose. I don't know what it is, but the man has had a long career. He's done so much. He does not need to wrestle every week anymore. He needs to start thinking about the end of his career at this point. He is still able to contribute so much behind the scenes, on commentary, as a manager. He can do almost anything he wants to do and succeed at it because he is that damn good. But as far as wrestling is concerned, he might want to start thinking about that next chapter. But besides that, and we already said it earlier, next week is going to be where they're going to start looking stronger. They're just teasing what is to come. Kazarian is young compared to Dustin Rhodes, Billy Gunn, and Sting. That is quite true. Chris, look good. Elvis, do you need to go to adamandeve.com to get a glow doll for practice? Makes perfect. There's no reason for him to practice if he's not going to be able to get the real thing. Elvis Martinez, Jericho is greatest of all time, greatest Intercontinental Champion, greatest heavyweight champ, greatest half of tag team champ, and greatest AEW champ. See my point? Willie Boozer Jones says Jericho is out of shape. True. Mark UPR says Ric Flair still does a lot. Exactly. He still does a lot, even at his age, and he still is relevant. Jericho can still remain relevant. Charmaine Marie says Billy Gunn and Jericho look good for both of their ages. This is true. They do. Mark UPR.
For any age.
I agree. Mark UPR, Taker meet and greets are going to be expensive, but worth it. Not even sure how that came up. Thank you so much, Mark. And Derek says there are wrestlers that stay too long, like a Stinger that can't sing anymore, that still is trying to perform. Agree with that. We'll talk more about Sting coming up very, very soon. Go ahead, Rick.
You mentioned Undertaker, so I think that's what Vicky is saying. And Vic, yeah, definitely try and meet Undertaker if you can. Definitely worth it. I've met him chance of my lifetime. It was damn expensive, but definitely meet him. Anyway,
Undertaker is definitely worth it. Undertaker, in my opinion, is the greatest of all time. You can make an argument for a lot of different wrestlers. In my opinion, Undertaker is the greatest of all time, and he's worth every penny.
30 years, definitely. Yeah.
30 years, and not just 30 years. What people don't fail to realize is, like Jericho, I think he's 20, 22, 25, right? But not all of that time he spent as a main eventer. Undertaker has pretty much been a main eventer ever since he came into WWE. All right, more or less, he's been either the main event or the semi-main event since he's been in the WWE. He has been that good as far as longevity. He's just the man. And F you, Steven, if you're watching still, F you, Steven, don't get suspended because the man is good. An evil dose. You be co-signing with your co-host on your podcast. Don't think I haven't noticed. All right.
About what?
Dude, just the disrespect you show the greatest of all time, the phenom, the dead man. You should be ashamed of yourself.
I just think he's stuck around too long. I mean, no disrespect to his first 22 to 2.5 decades, but the last 5 years, it's been very hit or miss.
It's incredible. 30 years to need a main eventer on top. Just
this is what I'm talking about.
Listen, I remember Mean Mark Callis. I remember Big Red. I remember the Master of Pain in Memphis.
This is what I'm talking about. You see this damn comment? See this dumbness right here? This is that Steven juice that he's drinking right there.
Well, first of all, thank you for listening. And Lana, is a special thing for Steven and I. That's something that we share, we bond over.
Y'all do that on StreamYard. So I'm pretty much producing the show. So I have to listen to it.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, I'm glad you enjoy it and love every segment.
I am.
Like Vic said.
Matter of fact, I don't think y'all plug it enough. Hold on, Ricky. I apologize real quick. Could you take some time to tell the Haminators about the podcast?
Yeah, absolutely. Myself, Evil Dose, and Big Daddy Cool, Stephen Pena, we do a podcast on wrestling called Hammerlock Hangover. It's pretty good about dropping every Friday morning. Stephen and apparently Chris do a great job of getting it out there. We are not a play-by-play show, but we do cover the highlights, the big stories. But we also have been known to take deep dives into serious things like guilds and unions and some other matters as well. And we've only had 6 episodes so far, so you can catch up and watch us grow as a team. Again, Hammerlock Hangover, wherever you can find podcasts. But we've already, in our short time, had Kevin Castle from the Don Tony Kevin Castle Show fame. So we've had some pretty big fish as guests, and Drew Yari from the Drew Yari Show is booked for a future. And spoiler, Anthony Alston, formerly of the Dirt Sheet Dudes, is going to be our guest as well. So we're pretty big deals. Welcome aboard.
Definitely take a listen to that. It's really good stuff. And speaking of which, if you're watching Unpopular Review for the first time, make sure that you like, love, and share. Matter of fact, if you're watching, period, I don't understand why you haven't hit the like, love, and share button. Yeah. Anyway, definitely go ahead and do that and realize that Unpopular Review Entertainment is also in any podcast form that you have. Ricky, go ahead, man. Take over your show.
Yes, Elvis. He hasn't liked either. Anyway, whatever. He puts all these damn stupid comments.
Ricky, when he says take over the show, he wants you to talk about NXT.
Right,
I've known him about 2 weeks. Anyway, I know that already. Right.
So, Chris's boy, Jake Atlas, taking on Tony Nese. What? Don't think you like him.
Automatically, somebody changed it to channel. I mean, and I apologize, Ricky. I don't mean to steal your thunder, but I am. If you're producing NXT, right, and AEW has a big show, are you trying to purposely give up and have everybody just switch the channel by putting Jake Atlas up? Because this is how I felt like they were doing tonight. Yes. They just did not use any. Where was Finn Balor? We know he was there because he was in the Pat Patterson tribute. Undisputed era wasn't there. You had Pat McAfee and his boys come out, and all they did was talk, and it wasn't even a good interview segment, to be honest with you. I don't understand what they were doing. And then to top it off, you give me Jake Atlas. Jake Atlas is not it. Speaking of not it, I can't wait till we talk about your girl Shotzi. But go ahead, take over your show.
You're right about this match, Chris. Taking on Tony Nese. Which brand is he on? Raw, SmackDown, 205 Live, NXT? Who knows? But it was an all right match.
Who was in the match?
Tony Nese.
It was at the top of the hour, too. It was at the top of the hour. Why did they do that?
Because this be the biggest win for Jake Atlas ever. Really? Wow. This is his biggest win ever.
It might be.
I just give up.
It was the biggest one ever for Jake Atlas and the biggest loss in viewers NXT's ever seen. It was not a good decision, man. Not a good decision.
He should have gone with Scott Atlas and resigned. No, I mean, if your name is Atlas, you need to look like Tony Atlas. Get a different name. Jake Slick. I don't know, something.
Jake Slick, like Slick Rick.
Something. I have nothing else to add because I was watching AEW.
And then he did a promo saying, "I'm now going to go after Santos Escobar, the cruiserweight title." And I thought, what? You've just beaten Tony Nese, fine, you've won a match, but really, you're now going to go after the title?
Didn't he already lose to Santos Escobar like 3 weeks ago?
Twice. He lost at Halloween Havoc, and then I think he lost. He's lost twice. And
I said a feud, not a match. I think he lost a bunch of matches and got beat up a bunch of times also.
Jake Atlas is so boring. I don't even want to talk about it anymore. I want to go directly to AEW. What was the next segment of AEW?
All right, next segment, if I'm not mistaken on the order here, it cut to a backstage segment, an interview with Marvez with the Young Bucks, talking about if they remembered when they super kicked him in the face. Yes, we did. And then they started waxing poetically about the titles and this and that and the other thing. And then came out the Acclaimed. And this is a team that's come out to a lot of acclaim. And I have to tell you, at first I thought they were just doing a gimmick of prime time. And they sort of were, but actually they have some charisma and they have some flow. It was sort of an old gimmick. But actually one of the Jacksons made me laugh because they looked at them and said, is this gimmick taken, referring to John Cena? But their song wasn't that good, but basically they did a rap song. And they were alluding to the fact that on the Young Bucks book, which they were giggling about, they looked like the Young Bucks were looking down at each other's junk and that they're brothers and still looking down at each other's junk. So it was a little bit juvenile, but so am I. And I thought that was a little bit funny. And then they said, look behind, the Bucks seemed to be getting a little bit annoyed with it. They said, look behind you. H2H, I'm sorry, the Hybrid 2 came out and slobber knockered them. Oh, I missed the point because the Hybrid 2 will face the Young Bucks next week. And the Bucks did say, you don't really have the record to deserve a title shot, but if you beat us next week, you'll get one, which I guess is basically telegraphing what's going to happen there. Anyway, I keep calling them H2H. The Hybrid 2 attacked the Bucks from behind, laid them out. And for whatever reason, SCU came out and made the save. So I guess we're going to get an 8-man tag at some point.
It's to make the AEW tag division look strong. Everybody always talks about how AEW tag division is very, very good. I think people mistake good for the fact that they have a plethora of tag teams. They have a lot of tag teams. I don't necessarily think any of them really stand out from the other. Young Bucks, obviously, they have the history. They have the following, and I understand that. I think they're overrated, but they do have it. FTR also has a very strong following. I also think they're a little bit overrated. But outside of those teams, everybody else is just, hey, it's the Brooklyn Wolf of makeup. What's going on? It's just that that's one of the things that I will say. AEW tonight, in my opinion, hit on all cylinders. And that's a big change from what I would say months ago, definitely a year ago. But AEW tonight hit on all cylinders. But I still don't think that they're A+ when it comes to everything. Like this gentleman here, who's a big AEW fan, AEW's biggest fan in the world, I swear, but needs to realize and wake up that AEW still has a lot of faults. And one of their faults, I think, is the tag team division. I think the tag team division could be a lot stronger, except for the fact they don't know who to push at what time. They are making it up as they go along. No long-term booking, no long-term planning. Ricky, what you got to say?
Also, something like this with the magazine. Oh, AEW does it. Oh, it's fine. Oh, isn't it funny? Vince would do exactly the same thing. Oh, isn't it funny? He'd be laughing backstage. And everybody would all over it.
Yeah, there's a lot of hypocrisy from AEW fans. They always sit around and talk about how bad WWE does it, but if AEW goes around and does the same thing, they praise it. If AEW does something and WWE does the same thing, then WWE stole it from AEW. It's really ridiculous. I wish people would stop doing it. Look, WWE is still the premier company in wrestling in the world. I don't see that changing anytime in the immediate future, if ever. But AEW has definitely gotten better and it's gotten credible enough that we're talking about it. And like I said, in my opinion, we're not done the shows tonight, but AEW was a solid show tonight, where NXT, in my opinion, for the last month or so has been as most people know, they have let fans inside the CWC now. And our very own technician was there tonight. And relative to other people I know are go, and they always try to get me to go, and I never want to go. Why? Because I feel like the NXT roster has gone south. It's lacking. It's not entertaining to me. It's not interesting. If I went tonight, I would have sat there like, what are you doing? And y'all know me. Y'all know how I am. And I mean, Evil Dose and I, we just met, but you can see how I am in the chat room. If it's not interesting to me, I'm going to bash it. So please just don't have me watch it. It's just gonna piss me off. When it get better, I'll show up. And Jacksonville is a 2-hour drive, so I don't know if I'll ever go to AEW. I don't want to do that drive. Derek Mitchell says the best tag team era was early 2000s WWE. Just because AEW is a lot of tag teams doesn't make it great. Hit the nail right on the head. You simplify what I was trying to say, Derek. Thank you very much. Daniel Miller says this page is anti-AEW, but praise everything the 74-year-old senile old man in the goofy production meeting does. He says this every week.
Okay, well, hey, he listens. Tunes in every week.
The best tag teams are New Day, one of the greatest tag teams in the world right now.
New Day teams were in the late 80s, so let's move on.
I see that's arguable. I think 2017 produced a lot of good tag teams with the Bar, with the Usos, with the New Day, but I can make an argument from the late 80s. I can make an argument with the early 2000s. All these are, arguments can be made.
Street Profits, great tag team.
Street Profits are a good tag team now. But if you look at the tag team division in WWE, it's really lacking right now. It's lacking in NXT. We'll talk about that in a minute. But today was they're trying to a way to have a resurgence of their tag teams. But like I said, we'll talk about it. I forgot what segment we're on. Was it AEW? Oh, we talk about AEW. Let's go with NXT after another commercial break. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned with us. Woo! Oh, I forgot. I'm supposed to use the Sting one per Big Daddy Cool. Sting.
So yeah,
I like that scene as well.
That's my best.
I heard you did, Chrissy. Nasty.
Get out of here. This is you guys' pick right here. This is the man.
I will say, if I can piggyback off of that a little bit, but that final scene that you're referring to, notice that they're both on a piece of debris of a boat, and it's two of them, and they're on it. So I remember in pre-production, y'all were talking about reviewing a movie called Titanic.
Get them.
I just want to say, if you want to get a sneak peek of my recasting, because sometimes I don't just recast people, but scenes. You just saying.
Look, that's because Jack was a gentleman and James Bond ain't having that.
False.
But notice how they both survived because he's smart.
No, I agree. That was
obviously Rose didn't love Jack at all because she let him literally freeze to death.
I am not going to fight you on that.
How did he die? Your contact? Not well. You needn't worry. The second is... Yes. Just sit.
Welcome back to Unpopular Reviews NXT AEW edition. I'm the executive consultant, joined today by Evil Doster Malachi, as well as Wednesday Night Goldman. Almost through NXT and AEW. We're about to go back to our NXT segment with Wednesday Night Goldman. But first, make sure that you hit that like, love, and share button to all of your wrestling timelines and groups, and follow us on all our social media at Unpopular Review. Follow it down there, and they'll tell you. But we're on media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. You name it, we're on it. Go ahead and like that, share it, subscribe to it. Ricky Goldman, take it away.
So, tag team action on NXT. You had Everrise taking on Liverpool's #1, Zach Gibson, James Drake, the Grizzled Young Veterans. This match didn't start. You had Imperium make their return to NXT. They destroyed Everrise, making them the two jobbers they are. Then you had tag team match with Imperium, Grizzled Young Veterans. What a tag team match this was. Match of the night, definitely. Both of NXT UK fame. both four guys, fantastic. What a match this was! Fantastic. All four guys looking on point, looking good. Great to see the Brisbane Veterans back in NXT. Great to see Imperium back in NXT. Hopefully, they can do a lot more with them. Have them go after the tag team titles. Great match, but then you had it at the end with no contest with Everrise attacking both tag teams. So hopefully, we're going to do something with Everrise. But it was a crap ending to a good match. Chris, what did you think?
Everrise is like the tag team version of Jake Atlas to me. They're not going to do it for me. I'm sorry, they're not. Maybe they can dominate main event or something. I don't know. They're not it. They're never going to be it. I'm a big fan of Imperium, and I am a fan of the Grizzly Young Veterans. But right now, the main problem that you have in AEW as far as tag teams, I said a resurgence. I mentioned this earlier, right? But what did you get here? Everrise, right? Grizzly Young Veterans, right? Imperium, right? Who are the tag team champions? Oni and Lorcan, right? All heels. Where's your babyface? Where's the tag team you can get behind? Where's the tag team you can root for to try to take the championships away from any of these guys? You don't have it. Still rebuild.
Drake Maverick and Breezango. That's about it, right?
Killian Dane and Drake Maverick, nobody's giving respect to, but they're going to continue to build up. So thank you for that. I forgot about that.
Breezango is another heel tag team.
Yes, true. Breezango is also a team that I forgot about, but at the same time, I mean, I know Breezango is popular. I've been there a lot of times, so they're very popular. But I'm sorry, I can't get behind them anymore.
I'm not arguing the point. I'm just saying I'm trying to think. I guess the Undisputed Era can be one or two teams also.
And I agree with you.
But
I agree with you. Even though they formed after New Day, I'm tired of Undisputed Era.
Yeah.
I think they've grown kind of stale.
Fast track the Rascals.
Even though I'm wearing the shirt, I'm tired of Undisputed. Okay, AEW, what happened?
All right. So correct me if I'm wrong about the order. I believe the women's match was next. Okay. So the women's match, it was legit Layla Hirsch. They went into a whole big backstory about how she was born in Russia. She was adopted by a U.S. family in New Jersey at age 8, and she was a collegiate athlete and a championship athlete. She basically has that wrestler's build. She's only 4'11", and she was going against the Dr. Britt Baker, accompanied as always with Reba. Anyway, Layla Hirsch is a good wrestler, a good technician. She's very short. She's pretty stocky, but she's very short. And I think that's a problem. I mean, Britt Baker looked like, Barry Windham next to her, and Britt is, she's not a short woman, but she's not a big woman either. Anyway, the match was okay. Britt Baker won with she had a flurry of offense at the end. They were sort of Britt cut a promo beforehand that was on a vignette where she said Layla Hirsch doesn't belong. She's going to take her out like the rest of the garbage, like Thunder Rosa. So that was sort of your cue. Anyway, once Britt applied the mandible claw, which, by the way, the ref stopped it immediately. Britt had her arms locked so she couldn't tap out, and she had the mandible claw. And so I'm not sure how Layla Hirsch said, "I give up," because she couldn't speak. But nevertheless, the ref called it immediately. And then Thunder Rosa ran in and started attacking Britt Baker. They called for the refs to come in. All of the refs came in, split them up. Reba took a couple cheap shots on Thunder Rosa. Eventually, BJ Whitmer and Jerry Lynn came in to make sure that all of the participants were apart. And obviously, this feud between NWA contracted Thunder Rosa and AEW woman star Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, shall continue. And I guess Thunder Rosa is going to work more on Dynamite than she will on NWA. Side note with NWA, their partner UWN suspended all operations effective immediately. Who knows for how long?
All right. As far as the women is concerned, I wasn't interested. I'm a fan of Dr. Britt Baker. I think the other woman, the short woman, I think she has talent, but it wasn't that interesting to me. But I'm interested to see where it goes. I agree with Mr. Mitchell's comment right here. about the AEW women's division, the weakest aspect of the show, and I agree with you. And I think until the AEW women's title actually looks like a championship and not a toy, it's going to remain like that. Nobody wants to fight for a belt that's the same size as the iPhone. It doesn't work for me. So I'm just going to move on. We'll skip to this, and we're going to go straight to NXT. Ricky, what happened next with NXT?
It was Timothy Thatcher's catch Thatch style wrestling class session. Class in session is
Thatch can.
Thatcher's it's a mouthful. His student was in the ring. He was going to show him some wrestling moves, teach him, but then Tommaso Ciampa turned up, and he said he wanted to learn. Thatcher was having none of this, and turns around, takes him down, gives him a kicking. I'm feeling that they just have nothing to do with Ciampa, and it's like, okay, go after Thatcher. This is added to War Games, and I think Thatcher's taking this win. Hopefully, I think Thatcher deserves a lot more and needs a lot more. His biggest win has been over Riddle, but since then they've done nothing with him.
I agree. I was actually talking to Matt about that last month. That I felt like since he lost to Thatcher, they haven't really done anything with that, and I don't understand why. I think Ciampa's there now. I think he's requested to stay in NXT. He does not want to go to main roster. And I think, okay, they said if you're going to stay there, you're going to have to put some people over. And that's what they're being used for. You're now like a vet there to help train some of these people. And I think that's what he's doing with Thatcher. I think his job is to get Thatcher where he needs to be in order for them to put some money and invest into this guy, because they have done it. But right now, I don't think they feel like he's paying off. I don't know if it's a charisma thing, but that's what they want Ciampa to do, and I think Ciampa's the right guy for it. The problem is that Ciampa's also a much better heel than he's a face, even though he's trying to play this like a tweener. I'm not sure this is the role for him, but we'll see. It's still early. It just needs to pick up a little bit. But I think Thatcher is one of the few people to have now who could possibly be a star sometime in the future. Your thoughts?
I agree with everything both of you said. The thing about Thatcher is he sort of lacks charisma. And the thing with Ciampa is that when he came back, he was really very heelish. He was a super aggressive heel. Even Kyle O'Reilly's sort of face turn was solidified when he stopped the beatdown of Ciampa on, the aforesaid Jake Atlas. So I know Chris is tuning out right now.
I almost dozed off. Dozed off. Let's hear his name.
Imagine Jake Atlas against Cameron Grimes. Woo. I understand that both are toying with tweeners and not quite roles in this no fans in the arena era, but this one's a little confusing to me. But I'm going to say that Ciampa is a face again. One thing I would not mind seeing come out of Thatcher is that his school, if any of those guys are ready, or the ones that are most ready, that they sort of become a faction. They sort of become a backup. And that way he could get over even on people with Ciampa without having to make Ciampa look weak. So Ciampa can always be sort of the guy, but he's just in a bad luck rut. So sort of like a varsity club, or I don't know if anybody watched TNA Impact when oh my God, I can't remember his name, Lambert, who always wants to do shoot fighting, and they had America's top 10 team. Those guys couldn't wrestle, so they didn't do anything. But sort of if he had them, but they actually could wrestle, almost like a varsity club kind of thing. But that's just War Game. That's just a fancy booking.
It is actually not a bad idea, Evil though. So I wouldn't mind seeing that, and maybe we saw a teaser of that tonight. I don't know. More time will come and tell on that, but I actually think that's a good booking decision. Maybe right now who's actually lacking of it. What are you going to say, Ricky?
August Gray actually started as a student of Thatcher's, so that's where they brought him in, and he's not the biggest star.
We were having an interesting conversation. You brought up August Gray. You got to explain this to me.
He's not the biggest star in the world, but that's how he started. Now he's getting used and getting some wins on 205 Live. So maybe they do that every week. They really bring some new in.
Do you know how many people watch? Do you know how many people watch 205 Live?
Not many.
205 people. What was the next thing that happened on AEW?
All right. The next thing we had was Darby and Cody. Darby had his usual entrance. Cody had his usual, basically Monday Night Messiah, but Messiah for every day of the week entrance. Coming in with Team Taz was Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs. Notorious in his absence, or conspicuous in his absence, was Brian Cage. Pretty good match. I mean, they made a whole big deal about how this whole match was over disrespecting the FTW championship. So, of course, the person who holds the FTW championship was the only person not there. So that didn't make any sense to me. But anyway, the match was okay. I wouldn't say it was that great, but the match isn't what anyone's going to be talking about. So at the end, let's just get to match. The faces go over. Cage comes out. So Team Taz comes in. They start whooping things up. Arn comes in. He gets physical. Dustin comes in, but Team Taz overtakes them. Then the lights go out. Winter is coming, is on the screen. There's fake snow put in. The lights go down. And then we see Sting on the board. And out walks Crow Sting with gray hair. The heels are nowhere to be found, so that was enough to scatter them, even though nobody said what side he was on. He strolls in slowly. He breaks dramatically, pulls the bat out of his trench coat, points it to the ring. He goes in. He sort of has a stare down with everyone. They mentioned that Arn and Sting have never really gotten along. That's not exactly true. Sting was in the Horsemen once, but it didn't end well. But they didn't mention that. I don't know why. But anyway, he took turns sort of staring down everyone, Dustin, Cody, and of course Darby, where he looked at him sideways, which was, listen, that was a good moment. That's what was needed because everyone compares Darby to Sting. And then Sting sort of dramatically and slowly walked out, and the JR with his JR line of the night. Listen to the fans. It's like they're childlike, so he always has to bury someone. But he was just trying to say that everybody was marking out, which is true. I get it. Sting is a big deal to a lot of people. He seems to be a bigger deal retrospectively than he actually was when I was growing up. While Sting was around, he was always sort of like the second or third guy. But it's like marking out for Randy Orton.
In 97, 98, he was the top guy.
We can discuss this another time. We're not this show. But anyway, Sting is an icon. He was the constant in WCW. If nothing else, he was the constant in WCW for probably 10 or 12 years. And anyway, he walked out. That was a big deal. They went to commercial. They came back, and they just replayed some of the highlights of that, and especially focused on the crowd getting all excited. And
the crowd was excited. Let's just be real. Sting is an icon. That's the word they like using with Sting, and he is. He's an icon. He's a draw. I think it's a really bad shame that WWE let this man slip through his fingers, despite how they treated him. Even though he was afraid of Seth Rollins, I'm sure he was. But let me tell you, when this man came out, there were a lot of different reactions for him. There were some people who were happy and they were dancing. They were all over the place, just so happy that this guy came out. And then I saw in a wrestling. Damn, Ricky, if you're gonna laugh that much, mute yourself. But then there were other wrestlers. There were other people who had this reaction, right? That's pretty much what it was. They're like, he's 61 years old. If he's not wrestling, that's fine. I don't think the man needs to be wrestling. I think he's still in great shape for his age. I still think he looks very good for his age, but he's 61. And I know Jerry the King Lawler still wrestles sometimes. If Ric Flair was healthy enough, he would wrestle, but you're 61. You don't need to wrestle. Come out here, hit some people to bat, do this thing with what's his face, Darby Allin. I think that was very good because you could see the comparison there a little bit. Darby is like $120, but I do see this angle, and I think this is a very good get for AEW, who likes using legends from the past to try to get these people over and try to bring eyes on the product. And I think Sting will help them more than hurt them. So congratulations to AEW for getting Sting, because, as they announced shortly after, he is all elite. So more power to AEW, and really good job to Sting. He's showing in 2020 he is still relevant. The downside of this, and I wish this was AEW Entertainment, because this would be the best, that would be the worst. I'll tell you my worst of this is the fact that, I ignored it the first time as a botch. But how many times, and you probably don't know, Ricky, because I don't know if you're watching, but I know Evil Doshi were. How many times did they say that it's been 18 years since he's been on TNT? We're in the year 2020. It was 2001. They actually mentioned the dates. It was March 21st, 2001. We're now in December of 2020. right? 4 months away from 2021, which would have made it 20 years, and they kept saying 18 years. It was driving me nuts.
Right. Yeah.
It was just driving me nuts. Like,
that was odd. I mean, you say almost 20 years. I mean, it's just a nice round number. It sounds more impressive. Yeah, I mean, of course, there are going to be people who reflexively say WWE hires the old guys and you crap on it. AEW does it, and you think it's great. And then other people are going to say, LOL TNA. And Sting also had a long run in TNA. But listen, if he's out there and it's and they can afford it, you sign Sting. They said a multi-year deal. We don't know what the terms of that deal are. We don't know if he's going to wrestle. We don't know if he's going to manage. We don't know if that means he appears weekly or 5 times a year. We have no idea. It could be like a Legends contract. Multi-year just means he's under contract for multi-year. The terms of that may or may not spill out because they're not a public company. So whatever, it's a good get. Whether you hate it or not, wrestling is about reactions. Apathy is the enemy of wrestling. So whatever it is, people will be talking about it. So if they didn't watch AEW, they're going to go back and watch it. They're going to watch the clips. They'll watch next week, even though next week is not as big a show. People will tune in for this. I don't think Sting is a long-term draw, but that depends on the booking.
I will say this, and when it comes to YouTube, Sting's entrance tonight will be the highest viewed thing of Wednesday.
Yeah,
I guarantee it, and that makes some money.
Yeah, over the
you always can tell what is the most popular, or at least in WWE. I can't speak for AEW because their views aren't as high as WWE's. They've had some bangers, but not consistently. But I know with WWE, what gets more views usually takes center stage. So
I agree with Jeff that Sting's a legend, an icon, Hall of Famer. Great to see him. But great for draws. Hopefully he doesn't wrestle. He's 61. But if this happened in WWE, see, relying on the old people, relying on the old guys, don't have him wrestle. But he's in AEW, that's completely fine.
I will say that you're absolutely right about that because you have to think about it. If Goldberg shows up to, next Monday, everybody will be crapping all over it. Why is Goldberg there? Why is he there? He doesn't need to be there. That's how they do every single time. Big Show, same thing. People don't give Big Show the respect he deserves. And Big Show is still in his 40s, but he shows up. He doesn't need to be there. They need to focus on their, it's the same thing they always have. But we're running a little low time, so I want to go right to a NXT. What's the next step?
The main event, not as good as AEW's main event, but still good. With a ladder match, the winner getting advantage for their team heading into War Games. It was Shotzi Blackheart, you love so much, Chris, taking on Raquel Gonzalez. Good main event, but I think they were short for time. They had 10 minutes and a lot of involvement here. A good main event. I enjoyed this. Both women looking good. Neither one looked weak. What NXT does, I think, is the main roster doesn't do. If you're the loser, it doesn't look like they've been buried. They'd still look good. You find out who the final member was. None of that. NXT Women's Champion Io Shirai. A lot of brawling, a lot of fight outside the ring fighting.
It had to be Io Shirai.
And Shotzi Blackheart took the win.
There's nobody left.
Yeah, true. What did you think of this main event, Chris?
Okay. All right. Let me before I go on this rant. All right. It's a few things that upset me about this match. One, they're talking about War Games. The War Games is Team Candice versus Team Shotzi. Why is it Team Shotzi? I don't understand. Somebody has to explain this to me. Why is it Team Shotzi? We have Shotzi Blackheart with former NXT champion Rhea Ripley, current NXT champion Io Shirai, and former NXT champion Ember Moon. No NXT championship, Shotzi Blackheart. She's not it. She's overrated. I don't see what anybody likes about her. I cannot stand her. You want to talk about a real star? Raquel Gonzalez. I know it's going to be unpopular. I don't care. We're unpopular review. Raquel Gonzalez has the look. She's improved tremendously in 1 year's time. She is a star in the making. She can come on and immediately get into a program with Nia Jax and take over that role from Nia Jax. Shotzi will go onto Monday Night Raw and drop job to Dana Brooke. I don't see it out of Shotzi Blackheart. That being said, this match was better than I thought it would be. So I will give credit to both women for putting on a very entertaining match. The problem, again, I'm going to say with NXT is, even though it was an entertaining match, even though I understood the mechanics behind the match, and we'll talk more about this in a second with Evil Dose, as they promoted it, the biggest world title match in AEW Dynamite history, the biggest Dynamite in history, was on at the same time, and you put on Shotzi and Raquel Gonzalez. Not a smart move. This main event for NXT probably got the least amount of eyes on it since they moved to USA. There's not a doubt in my mind,
point, Chris, because I am sure that somebody in WWE's office knew Sting was signed and knew that he was going to be there.
Chris, who do you think the two Ghostface people are?
Well, we know one was Hindi.
Now there's two new ones.
Oh.
You said what? I didn't hear the question. What was it?
The two new
Ghostface
Ghostface.
Scream outfits.
Who do you think they are?
Who do I think is in the Scream? I don't know yet. And I understand. I could be wrong about this, but understand. I don't even think they know who's in it. Yeah, I think it's just changing each week right now.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was Austin Theory was going to be one of them, and I still don't see why it wouldn't be. But
the Rascals, maybe.
Then Austin Theory quit or get kidnapped or something. So one of them probably is him.
Could he not be the Rascals?
No, they just entered the Performance Center today. They literally checked in.
I will say that, but at the same time, the last group of people was like last month, and then one of their people has been on 205 Live like every week, winning in the program and everything like that. Shocks the hell out of me. I actually met him. We watched one of the NXT takeovers recently together. His name escapes me. I feel really bad.
I think one of their names, Desmond Xavier.
No, he was over. I went to Dylan's house to watch NXT, not the last one, the one before, and Takeover. And what is his name? He's on 205 Live every week now. He's in a program with Davari.
So you are one of the 205 people who watch 205 Live.
I thought Ricky was one of the 205. I thought he was just going to say, it's this guy, but I can't remember his name. I feel really bad. Yeah, Google him. He was a cool dude. He was a cool dude.
Google the Rascals. Who I would like it to be, but I'm sure it's not because we would know it's him because he's so big. It's Dabba-Kato.
It was not Dabba-Kato.
Yeah, I mean, you would know if it's a 6'10" guy.
This guy was pretty small. I'm bigger than this guy.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't know. A lot of time spent on ghost faces.
All right, let's talk about the AL, something that people are looking forward to besides the Sting segment. This was mostly going to be an AEW heavy show. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, if you're an NXT fan, but it was. But let's go ahead and talk about it. World title match, Jon Moxley versus Kenny Omega. Take it away.
All right, so Kenny Omega came into his usual tailored vignettes or with Justin Roberts doing unique and interesting and pretty comical commentary or introductions. Pointed out he had won 18 individual titles. So Kenny comes out, Moxley comes out with his usual through the crowd, not much of a crowd, but through the audience, that's sort of that stage right door up on the lower mezzanine. Usual look of intensity. This match, everyone was expected to be match of the year. I don't think it was that. I don't think it's going to live up to the hype match-wise, but story-wise, I think it delivered. So it was a pretty good match there. It started out slow. It definitely sped up. They had a segment where they were both brought chairs into the ring, but instead of using them as weapons, they sat on them and traded blows. Then, Kenny sort of started doing the the high knees. But everything was countered. Kenny did his usual snapdragons. Moxley did a clothesline. They called it a King Kong clothesline. I don't remember him calling it that before, but maybe he has. No, I didn't think so. But they traded moves. They did a little chain wrestling where they were revert. Moxley would get out of the one-winged angel. Kenny would get out of the paradigm shift. He would try the paradigm shift. Moxley would block it. Fight. At some point, they both went out of the ring, and Moxley basically threw Kenny into. They had heaters around the audience because apparently it was cold in Florida. I don't know what that means, but let's just say it was 50 degrees. I don't know, 40, 44. I don't know if this was a real heater or not. It didn't look very sturdy, but I don't know that the heater needs to be. It looked like floodlights, honestly, to me, in a big black cardboard box. But anyway, the story is that when Kenny hit it, he was hurt. Now, I don't know where in wrestling that matches get broken or delayed for that. People get thrown into things all the time. But all the rest were saying, don't touch him. He's hurt. He's hurt. There was no blood. It didn't look like he was, knocked out particularly bad. There was no physical evidence of there being a particular injury. The box itself didn't look particularly sturdy, so I wouldn't say that this was a great spot, but that wasn't really the story. The story was Don Callis was on commentary talking about Impact and talking about how he's known Jon Moxley forever. They kept saying Don Callis is basically his Kenny Omega's uncle, known him forever. This is the second time Don Callis has been on AEW programming, at least. And Don Callis got up from commentary and ran to sort of the ring apron with mic in hand, basically saying, stop it, he's hurt, he's hurt, he's hurt. And with that distraction, Kenny Omega found another mic in the ring, hit Moxley with the reverse side of the microphone, split Moxley wide open. He was bleeding. Ref made a big show of putting his gloves on, like he air ballooned them and put them on, as he should do. Kenny Omega basically did a few moves, put on the one wing angel, got the 3 count right in the middle of the ring. Callis, basically ushered him out and ran him out. I know half the world was expecting someone to attack at that point or to do something. That didn't happen, and basically everyone was sort of jeering Omega. Why? Not like this, not like this. And everyone in the back was sort of, putting their hands out, like, how could you do this? How could you do this? And Callis was basically ushering him out, ran him out into a waiting limousine. They closed the door, drove off, and JR said, good night, everyone. So we have a new AEW champion, sort of one heel way. It's sort of interesting because they were both sort of acting like heels at the point, but Kenny definitely more of the heel. I guess Moxley just doing his tweener tough guy thing. So, I guess a bit of a controversial win, but I knew that. Well, I didn't know. I predicted there'd be a title change tonight. I didn't think they were going to wait till February. So it looks like the rumors are true that Moxley is not working Wrestle Kingdom. But before I forget, probably the biggest piece of maybe major news, I suppose, was that Don Callis, when they were asking why Don Callis goes to, I guess it was Alex Marvez, it doesn't matter who it was, he says, you'll find out next Tuesday. And the guy goes, what are you talking about? The Dynamite's on Wednesday. He goes, you'll find out on Impact. So apparently Kenny Omega is going to be with Don Callis on Impact next Tuesday night. So there seems to be a working relationship between Impact and AEW. I don't know if it's sort of like NWA where it's just limited to Thunder Rosa right now, or so that's just limited to Kenny Omega, or if there's a bigger thing coming. So we'll see. I know people want a New Japan, but this is interesting. It's good for Impact. It's good for business, and it makes sense geographically. They're working with promotions here and in the state of the world. Why work with a promotion halfway across the world that has all of these giant stars? Impact needs AEW more than AEW needs Impact.
Impact tapes in Canada.
I think they tape in Nashville sometimes. I think Anthem's based in Canada, but I think they tape in Nashville.
I'll check on that. You're possibly right. I don't keep up with Impact too often, but one of the funny things you said was that the guy who interviewed Don Callis backstage and was like, "What are you talking about? Tuesday, AEW's on Wednesday, Dynamite's on Wednesday," and he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm talking about Impact on Access," because that guy didn't know what Impact was or what day it comes on. Just like anybody else. He was like, so. But also a funny thing is, and I hate to talk negative about you, AEW Marks, but AEW pretty much averages 700,000 viewers each Wednesday, right? Impact on Access does a little like 300,000. So they're not that far off from. I'm not saying they're overtaking them in the ratings. Trust me, I'm not saying that, but they're not that far off. So this is a good move for both promotions, in my opinion. If they're really doing a good, solid working relationship, I think this could be really interesting. I'm interested in seeing what can go down this Tuesday. Will I be tuning in? Probably not. But
I'll watch it.
If someone sends me a link, I'll tune in. But I want to add one point to that, and the reason why I think that AEW is actually invested in a bigger partnership than just the Omega story is because they are having Omega on Impact airing opposite Dark. So they're actually investing against, and I know it's YouTube and you can watch YouTube at any time, but most of their viewers for Dark do watch at the air time. Yeah. So they're definitely investing in this as a long-term relationship. And I think that's cool. And people are already talking about, well, the Good Brothers were in Bullet Club and Kenny was in Bullet Club. And so now there's a reunion and, there's all this fantasy stuff. And that's buzz. This show created a lot of buzz, a lot of things to talk about. And at the end of the day, it's about ratings. And so mission accomplished. It was a good show.
And I agree with Mr. Mitchell here. Impact Wrestling does not have that big a star, so of course they're going to benefit a little bit more than AEW. I always say when AEW is born, people are like, oh, WWE is in trouble. They're going to take everybody from WWE. They took some few wrestlers that WWE let go or they decided to go. Nobody, I think the biggest star that they took outside of maybe Chris Jericho is Dean Ambrose. But if you take that away, I say this every time, the company Impact Wrestling, the company AEW impacted the most, no pun intended, was Impact Wrestling, was Major League Wrestling, because they had a lot of momentum going Impact Wrestling and Major League Wrestling especially, because Major League Wrestling was doing big things down here in Orlando. That's where I discovered Pentagon and actually Matt Riddle and other wrestlers, but then their roster got raided when AEW came about. So I think Impact kind of say, we need to make a move. And we need to make an impact. Once again, no pun intended. So this is going to be really good for Impact Wrestling. And like I said, I'm really interested in what's going to happen next. Ricky, your thoughts?
What Impact has that AEW doesn't have? A women's division.
I think this is huge. You've got Kenny Omega and the AEW title on Impact. I don't watch Impact, but will I watch on Tuesday? Yes.
The AAA title.
Will I find a link? Will I find a link to watch this? Definitely. Will I tune in the week after?
The funny part about it is Kenny Omega has been wrestling for years, and a lot of people talk about how good he is, and I always thought he was overrated. I never saw it out of him, but I started paying attention to him more because I heard on Stone Cold's podcast how he said Kenny Omega is the best wrestler in the world. I was like, wow, there's big praise coming from arguably, once again, one of the Coast. Definitely the most popular wrestler of all time, in my opinion. And I watched him, and I still never was really impressed. I think he's a good wrestler. Don't get me wrong. I think he's good at what he does. But do I think he's spectacular, as some people say? No, I don't think so. I think sometimes he has good dance partners, but I see one too many knee strikes, in my opinion. Less is more. It's like Roman Reigns. I think Roman Reigns is a very good wrestler, but one too many Superman punches, in my opinion, from time to time. And I think he kind of got that from Brock Lesnar when he started doing Suplex City. I call it 2K wrestling, where you have to do the same move 14 times in a match. You need to switch it up a little bit. They didn't do that back in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, even early 2010s. But now all of a sudden it's become more common where somebody does the move 5 times a match, even in this match, right? How many knee strikes did he do or V triggers did he do to Dean Ambrose? So I'm like, come on. Yeah, let it go. I don't need to see it all the daggone time. And honestly, when he did in his move, I forgot what he calls it, one wing of angel or something like that. When he hit it, it was a little lackluster to me. So I mean, it's an impressive move, but it just I was looking like, hey, he should kick out of that stuff where you have 5 V triggers to the face. So I don't know. Kenny Omega is underrated. I don't think he's underrated. But I'll tell you what, they definitely have faith in him, even though he's a president of the company, right? He's a vice president of the company. And speaking of which, all their vice presidents of the company gets a tremendous entrance, I might add. Anyway, so he's a vice president of the company, and they gave the world championship to somebody who's not WWE born. So that shows a lot of trust they have in him. But at the same time, that might be another reason why they're going with this invasion angle, because it gives them something to build off of, as opposed to if he just won it on his own. Because like I said, now he has to be the face of that company, and I'm not sure he can do it. Derek Mitchell says WWE is a known community for over 40 years. When non-wrestling fans think wrestlers, they think WWE, which is true, because even now, if Chris Jericho goes on a non-TNT Turner-owned product, they usually say WWE superstar or former WWE superstar. They don't say AEW wrestler because that's what people know Chris Jericho from. I agree with you, Chris. Omega is very underrated. Back in the 80s, you could get pinned with a flying body press or one DDT. And I miss those times, especially the DDT Jake the Snake Roberts talk about all the time. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take one final commercial break. When we come back, these two gentlemen are going to tell you their final thoughts. I'm going to go. That's what we do every single week now. I'm going to go. I'm going to let these two gentlemen have it. But thank you so much for watching us. Please make sure you still like, love, and share this video and give these two gentlemen that respect. I'll see you tomorrow for entertainment. Thank you so much for watching us tonight. Gentlemen, when we come back from commercial, take it away. Knock it out the park.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching this edition of Unpopular Review. While you're at it, why don't you give us a follow on these beautiful social media platforms known as Facebook and Twitter at Unpopular Review. But there's another one. Give us a follow on Instagram. We got funny pictures, we got updates, and we have things where we tell you everything that's going on. So why don't you give us a follow on Instagram at unpopular.review. And now, back to the show.
That's a murder. She's a murderer.
So's the shit maker.
You know who else is a murderer? Santa Claus.
Oh no! Bye. Let me go into my scene.
Santa Claus has damaged more roofs, right? On these people. Hold on, seriously. This fat man has damaged so many roofs, being on top of them. Gutters falling and stuff like that. The people have to go up there and try to fix it. People can't afford to fix the roof, so they go up there on their own and they fall off because they don't know what they're doing. All because of Santa Claus. Where are they going? Why is everybody disappearing? Why is everybody disappearing on me? I'm over here trying to plead a case, man. Like Santa Claus is out of control. Santa Claus is out of control.
Yes. All right, let's get back.
Santa kills people. Okay.
Yeah. How do we follow burying Santa Claus?
I thought they should have waited till Revolution to have Omega win the title, but him going to Impact, like I'm saying, is huge. Am I going to tune in? Yes. Will I tune in if he's on again the week after? Definitely. Will I going to tune in forever of Impact? No. But I think he pulls in the fans or on Impact fans before. Definitely. What do you think?
I mean, I might have spaced out the Sting debut and the title change for different nights. I don't know why it was so important to kill in the ratings this week. Maybe they were afraid of the NXT Go Home show. Maybe they were sort of rattled by last week's ratings. It ended up being a tie. It was 7-12, 7-12 after a recount, I guess. Rudy Giuliani won one case. Or maybe they just, they just don't have the patience, which, I've said about AEW a few times on certain matters. Whatever it is, they won this week. I still think the War Games will be a good show because NXT generally puts on a good show. But I don't really know what the stakes are in those matches. I don't really care that much about many of them. The world title, the NXT title, is not on the line, just the North American title in a triple threat with two guys I don't care about.
No titles, tag title, no tag title match, women's title match, just the North American. But I think it makes the North American feel more important because that's the only title on the line. So
I suppose, but I think title matches always feel more important when there's other title matches too. It makes it feel like a big show. This doesn't. Takeover doesn't feel like a big show, and it's going into, sort of like the. I mean, I know there's still TLC, but it's sort of going into the tribute for the troops, which is also Sunday. Year in review shows. I know they're going to put the Slammies on as well, so I guess they're going to keep things moving. But I don't know. I think AEW, this might be, their second to last show of the year. Last year they worked 50 weeks, not 52. They took off Christmas and New Year's week, which I think is a nice thing to do. But maybe they just want to end the year with a bang and go into next year strong. I don't know. Tony Khan said something about trios titles. He also said maybe about dividing Dark into two shows. He didn't say anything about the second TNT show. So there's a lot of unknowns, but if they're going to be on Impact also, who knows? But we're talking about it, and I like talking about wrestling. I have a podcast, so I don't need to love everything because as long as I'm interested in what's going on or can talk about it. And so, like I said, mission accomplished. I didn't watch NXT. That was your job tonight. I will watch it tomorrow. Hopefully I'll like it. It doesn't sound like it was a must-see show, but I'll still watch it because I have another job to do. I sort of felt a little bit like Sting, though, the way I felt about the Undertaker retirement. They could have done that on Raw with more effect. It sort of overshadowed the rest of the show, but at least in this case, the placement was different so that the show did close out with the title win, and they kept talking about an overrun. Now, I knew there wasn't going to be an overrun because I looked at my DVR, and my DVR said it stops at 10, and NXT stopped at 10:08. I mean, the networks know in advance, so I knew with pretty good certainty that wasn't going to be the case. Nevertheless, not to be a wet blanket on everything, but nevertheless, I think it delivered. And the thing with Impact was a nice swerve, and it's a great shot on the on for Impact. I don't really know what AEW does with another roster of people, but if they're going to have certain talent migrate to Impact on a semi-regular basis, that's going to give a chance for some AEW people to shine. Maybe it does put Scorpio Sky there, or Sean Spears, or Powerhouse Hobbs can make his name over there. I mean, we haven't. I can't remember the last time I've seen Luchasaurus on Dynamite. So there's a whole bunch of people on the AEW roster that we've probably forgotten about that can go to Impact, and you could have feuds and interesting stuff. And there's all sorts of fantasy booking. I know people are talking about the Motor City Machine Guns with the Bucks. I think Saban is still hurt, but or Shelley, or both of them. But we'll see. We'll see. And the wrestling world is buzzing.
So 2 things, we'll make this quick. One is, do you think WWE take Christmas off?
No, the WWE, I mean, they may have year in review shows. So
you'll think Vince will make them work SmackDown on Christmas Day?
I don't know. I maybe. Who knows? I mean, he's writing scripts through the show. I don't know. I think WWE should take this time of year to do some reevaluation at the top. And I mean, this is not a WWE show, but they have 2 things that are good, and that is the Roman Reigns line story and the Hurt Business. And it looks like they're already trying to ruin both of them. So I'm an unhappy camper with WWE right now.
And also, very quickly, I don't think either of us are on the predictions show, pre-show, whatever.
We will be. Believe me, those people are going to drop off, Ricky. We're the reliable ones. That's why we're the tag team.
Okay.
The gold standard. That's our name, the gold standard.
Do you know what to do? Predictions now then, or should we just wrap up?
Nah, man. That's another show where we can. I mean, I'm done. You can give your final thoughts on NXT AEW, but I feel like I can go. I'm looking at the counter. We're at about 1 hour and 35 minutes. I think we gave the people what they need.
Give the people what they want.
That's right. And Elvis, thank you. Not anti-Chris, just pro-Jeff, pro-Evil Dose.
Very quickly, we'll very, very quickly answer this. He asked a question. Who would you say?
Me? Well, I'm going to go old school on you. My favorite. I'll give you a cheat. I'll do 2. My favorite of all time, because this was the first Intercontinental Champion when I first started watching wrestling, and that's the Magnificent Morocco. I would say the best Intercontinental Champion of all time. Past that, probably Bret Hart.
Very quickly, Derek asked you a question.
I do not. I remember when he purchased Smoky Mountain and did that with NWA, and then tried to bring them into WW. I think it was still F at the time, but I didn't remember UWF with that, and I'm not sure which UWF you mean. The one that was sort of it was the Herb Abrams one that lasted for about a year or 2 and failed spectacularly, or the one that was sort of where Jim Ross and Sting and Dr. Death and Hacksaw and DiBiase came from, which was an excellent promotion. It was just in the wrong part of the world.
So for Intercontinental Champion, if I had to pick one, probably Jericho as the greatest of all time. If I had to pick one. But I think Brett's up there as well.
Good choice.
So yeah, both were good shows, and thanks everybody for watching, and good night.
Hammerlock Hangover. Subscribe.
Good night, everyone.